Lieutenant Womack, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
If you just say your name one more time and spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
Matthew Womack, W-O-M-A-C-K.
All right. And where are you currently employed, sir?
I'm a lieutenant in the Criminal Investigations Division of the Greenwood County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been employed at the Greenwood County Sheriff's Office?
I've been employed here since 2017. Previously, I was at the Newberry County Sheriff's Office.
And your current duties as a lieutenant in Criminal Investigative Division, what does that entail?
So I am the direct supervisor to the other investigators, as well as the IT sergeant and training sergeant as well.
Okay. And do your duties involve forensic digital analysis of devices?
It does. In 2021, prior to my promotion, we started the digital investigations portion of criminal investigations, and I've been doing that since.
Would you consider yourself the supervisor of the digital investigations?
Yes, I would.
All right. What trainings and qualifications do you have to analyze digital devices?
So I've attended numerous trainings, some of which are relating to digital forensics would be from the Atlanta, Carolina HIDA, intensity drug trafficking or HIDA, social media research, from the National Criminal Justice Training Center. I've conducted the ICAC Introduction to OS Triage. Essentially, that's triaging computers, as well as the Basic Investigations to OS Triage. I've completed undercover chats and communications between ICAC offenders, responding to cyber incidents, specifically in schools. At the National White Collar Crime Center, otherwise known as NW3C, I've completed basic cell phone investigations, basic GPS interrogations, introduction to social media and networking, introduction to the dark web, introduction to digital evidence in court, understanding the digital footprint, Google locations and geofence investigations, post-seizure evidentiary, digital concerns, and search warrants revolving digital evidence. I've also attended the National Computer Forensic Institute, also known as NCFI. This is operated by the United States Secret Service, and I've completed Command Line Principles Program, the Digital Investigation Supervisor course, as well as Advanced Mobile Extraction Techniques. I also completed and done a recertification from Cellbrite as a Cellbrite Mobile Forensics Fundamentals, Cellbrite Certified Operator, and Cellbrite Certified Physical Analyst.
Okay. All right. And have you ever been qualified as an expert in a state or court of this state?
I have.
What have you been qualified as?
I was qualified as a mobile forensics examiner, specifically for digital evidence.
And how many times have you been qualified?
Once before.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, state would seek to enter Mr. Lieutenant Womack as an expert in mobile digital device analysis.
Okay.
No objection.
All right, without objection, Lieutenant Womack is so found to be an expert in that area.
Okay. All right, Lieutenant Womack, you just read off quite a list and used a lot of terms.
Yes, sir.
I suspect the jury may not be familiar with. But
That's
let's talk about cell phones.
Okay.
You analyze cell phones that are brought in as evidence. Is that
That's
correct?
Yeah.
Can you just talk to jury and about the basic steps you take once a device comes into your possession to be analyzed?
So a device comes into our evidence, and it is placed into certain states, or if we've tried to advise the first responding deputies or the investigators of how to place the device in a certain state. So there are two states, a hot state and a cold state, otherwise known as an after first unlock or before first unlock. Essentially, if many of you have an iPhone, for an example, if your face or your fingerprint doesn't work and it requires you to put in a passcode, that is a before first unlock state. If it doesn't and you're able to swipe and it opens automatically without a passcode, that's an after first unlock state. We typically have those guys take it off of the network, essentially putting the phone in airplane mode, putting it in a Faraday bag, or removing the SIM card from the device. We also have them to plug the device up to charge it so that it does not lose power, depending if it's in the after first unlock state.
And you're talking about before first unlocked and after first unlocked. Why is that important? What key thing does that take into account when you need to analyze a phone?
So, for instance, if I have a cell device that's in a after first unlock state and I don't have the passcode to the phone, I can still complete a extraction from the device that gets about 85 to 90% of the data. If it's in the before first unlock state, the encryption has not been put into the device, and I can only get about 25 or 30% of the without the passcode.
Is that because most modern cell phones in their normal restive state, is the data encrypted?
Yes, it uses 256-bit encryption.
And without these tools you're going to talk about, if you didn't have the passcode, would you be able to access the data on that phone?
I would not without these tools.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. So you just described in general sense of how you like to receive a device as it comes in evidence, and you set it up. What tools do you use and how do you use them at that point to extract information off the cell phone?
So depending on the device, if we have a known passcode, we can utilize any of the tools that we have, whether it be the Cellbrite or the Gray Key. The Gray Key will pull a full file system extraction. The Cellbrite, we can choose between a logical or advanced logical, depending on specifically to an iPhone.
And you said the words Cellbrite and Gray Key. What are those?
Cellbrite is a company that provides hardware and software to extract the data off of the device. Gray Key is owned by Magnet Forensics. It's also a device that can extract the data or bypass or brute force a device to get the passcode or bypass the passcode.
All right. And when you say brute force, does that mean just randomly trying codes to see if something works?
Essentially.
Okay. So you have these devices, Cellbrite and Gray Key, to help extract information off these cell phones. Are there different types of extractions?
There are.
All right. What are some of the different types of extractions?
So the lowest level would be the logical. The logical is essentially what you see on the phone, your messages, your calls, some photos, things of that nature. You can also do an advanced logical on an Apple device, which gains a little bit of the file system information on top of the basic information that you see. A full file system, you can start getting into the file system databases in the device. The last or the most strenuous is the physical. Now, in a physical extraction, the device has to be rooted or you have to jailbreak the phone. Essentially, you're gaining writing access to it, removing all the security features. We do not do that at the sheriff's office. We do not practice rooting or jailbreaking.
Okay. So essentially, the different types of extractions affect the amount and types of information you get off the phones. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And a logical extraction is only going to access data that a user of the phone can normally access.
That's
correct. So that would be like call log, photos, texts, apps, that sort of information, correct?
Essentially the surface of what you see or what the user would use.
And an advanced logical pulls other information off, correct?
That's correct. It pulls portions of the file system as well.
All right. And what kind of information will you normally find in that file system when you do an advanced logical extraction?
So if you're doing a file system extraction, again, it gets into the file database. So essentially, if you look, let's just talk Apple devices. You have a certain amount of storage on your phone, all right? So you don't care every time your phone plugs up. You don't care to see that information, or every time your phone, the backlight or the orientation, or every time it connects to a Wi-Fi or shakes hands with another device. You don't care as the user about that information. What you care about is your pictures, your applications, your videos, things of that nature. So what Apple does is this is they put it all in a file system, the stuff you don't care about in a file system. And that information is plugged in there basically on how much you use your device. If you turn your phone on and off, on and off, on and off, it's going to keep logging those dates and times. the newest information is kept in, and it's sort of like a conveyor. So once you get to the end of the file system, let's just say you used it a week ago and you turn your phone off, it logged it, but that's not needed anymore because you don't care. It's not going to use up your storage. It saves that other portion for the stuff you do care about.
Okay. And so essentially, there are file systems on a phone that aren't normally user accessible, correct?
That's correct.
But they still store information, correct?
They do.
And sometimes that information can be useful in your investigations, is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. And typically, those other file systems are finite in size, correct?
That's correct.
And they will overwrite each other as time goes forward.
That's correct.
And that way, if you have, say, what's a typical phone size that you see these days?
I mean, they're getting larger and larger. Used to, at one point in time, you could see 64s, and now, I mean, there's phones that have a terabyte now.
You know, is 128 gigabyte a common
Yeah,
size you see?
that's fairly common. Yeah.
So if you have a 128 gigabyte size phone, most of that memory is going to be taken up by stuff that the user cares about.
That's correct.
But there's these other hidden databases that kind of store a finite amount of information as well.
That's correct.
All right. And just a couple examples, and we'll move on, just a couple examples of things you might find on those other file systems.
So mainly it's for, there's Knowledge C, which is an SQLite database, as well as Biomes, which is originally under the streams. Biomes just began in iOS 15, and by iOS 16, they were heavily taking place of the Knowledge C. And what the Biomes store is information such as connectivity to the device.
When you say connectivity, what do you mean?
As in connected to your Bluetooth, connected to your Wi-Fi.
Okay.
If it sees any Wi-Fis or any public Wi-Fis that you don't connect to.
So a phone, in theory, if you're walking by a place that has a Wi-Fi, even though you don't connect to it, the phone's going to record
That it sees that Wi-Fi.
you saw that Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
Okay, keep going.
And then, like I said, that's information that you don't care about, so Apple makes it where you don't need to see it because you really wouldn't care for it.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, you had the next question.
No, that's fine. All right, so let's move on and talk about your involvement in this case.
Okay.
Lieutenant Womack. And did you receive any phones to analyze as part of this case?
I did.
Okay. Let's talk about 3 phones in specific. And did you analyze the defendant, Mr. Bud Ackerman's phone?
I did.
All right. And did you analyze the decedent, in this case, Davis McClendon's phone?
I did.
And then did you also analyze the separated wife, Meredith Ackerman, now Haney, her phone as well?
I did.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Meredith's phone first. What did you do to analyze Miss Haney's phone?
So if I could refer to my notes, I received Miss Haney, was Ackerman, now Haney, her device. It was an Apple iPhone 13 Pro with a 256 gigabyte storage capacity. I received it on May the 8th from Captain Murdoch, and a passcode was provided. So I completed both an advanced logical and logical extraction on these devices, and then placed that into a physical analyzer, which is a software provided by Cellbrite, which parses or sorts, if you will, of, all right, here's all your pictures, and it puts it in certain sections. It makes it user-friendly to review.
Okay. All right. And did you review the information you found on Miss Haney's phone?
I did, for validations and malware purposes.
Okay. And are you confident when you performed the extraction of Miss Haney's phone that all the data you pulled was intact and not altered in any way?
I am confident.
Okay. And how large was Miss Haney's phone?
It was over 200 gigabytes. It was a large amount of data on the device, but the capacity was 256 gigs.
But you removed all the data off of it, correct? And saved it elsewhere, correct?
Essentially, it images it, yes.
It images, so you don't actually remove it, you simply make a copy of it.
That's correct. There's no altering.
All right. And when you're done with that extraction of Miss Haney's phone, what did you do with it?
I then, again, completed my validations of the information that I was seeing, a malware scan, and then provided a report, which I provided to Investigator Powell.
Okay. All right. I'm going to show you it's been marked as State's Exhibit 31. See if you recognize that.
I do recognize it.
And what is that?
This is the call log report for Meredith's phone.
All right. And what dates does that encompass? The dates and times from the, you don't have to read every entry, just from the beginning to the end.
This report specifically is from May the 6th, 2023 at 2:23:31 p.m. to May the 7th, 2023, 1:41:47 a.m.
Okay. So from the afternoon of May 6th to the early morning hours of May 7th, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And at this time, State would move to enter Exhibit 31 in evidence. Okay.
Without objection, 31 in evidence for the state.
And the state's going to publish, and we're going to discuss some of the information, what it means on a call log.
Okay.
And while Ms. Cologne is working on that.
Is that just phone line?
Yes. While she's setting that up, when we say phone log or call log, what is that?
So it can capture, in this particular device, there is a call log database in the CQ Lite database. And it captures when an outgoing or incoming call, as well as the duration and whom it is made to.
Okay. And so, and this is user accessible data that would normally a user could see on their own phone, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's their call log, right?
That's correct.
You can, on an individual's phone, they can kind of look and see, oh, I made a call this time to this person, and somebody else called me at this time, so on and so forth, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and this is, and what tool did you use to produce this report?
I extracted the device using the Cellbrite UFED 4PC and then analyzed it with Cellbrite Physical Analyzer.
Okay, all right, and with the court's permission, can Lieutenant Womack step down?
Yeah, yeah. Just be sure, Lieutenant Womack, that you stand behind that microphone on the jury railing.
And what I'm going to do, Lieutenant Womack, is I'm just going to have you explain the various columns here so the jury understands what information it's looking at. We're not necessarily going to go and review every call at this point, but let's start with, we see several columns across the report, is that correct?
That's correct.
And on the left-hand side, let's just start left to right. On the very far left-hand side, what is that column? What information is there?
So you'll see the calling parties. The 2 is obviously the number being called.
Well, let's to the left of that, what is that?
I'm sorry. That's just the number calling in this report, the number of.
Is that a number Cellbrite assigns to that data entry just
Yes.
so it can keep it straight?
That's right, just to make it user-friendly.
Okay. So someone could refer to entry 1 as a shorthand way of saying that first call. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. So the next column, it says at the top, parties. What is that?
So the parties could be the calling party or receiving party. And then you'll see it has a direction of outgoing or incoming. The outgoing would be the user of the device. In this case, Meredith was calling. If you, for instance, look at line number 1, she's calling a phone number, and the contact in blue, it says Abby.
Okay. All right, let's discuss that. So we see a phone number that is associated with that first entry, and then we see a name that says Abby. That's correct?
That's correct.
All right, and the phone number is the phone number that was actually called out from Meredith's phone, correct?
That's correct.
And then where it says Abby, where is that information coming from?
That's saved in the contact log. It associates that number with Abby.
And that's something the user would have had to entered into her phone. Miss Haney would have had to enter her phone when she saved that number as Abby, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And then, so that first entry is an outgoing call, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And then there's a timestamp. How does the phone figure out what time to use in a entry?
So typically the phones are using typically the phones use the carrier time from the tower itself.
Okay. And so cell phone networks provide a times with their network that the phone's synced to. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's where the phone derives its phone.
That's
Its
correct.
time, excuse me. All right. So that first entry, just for an example, what's the date on that first entry?
First entry is May the 6th, 2023,
Okay. And what time does it say for that first entry?
2:23:31 p.m. That's minutes, seconds, and then so on.
And then it says something about UTC -4. What is that, and what does that mean?
So UTC essentially is a universal time. So we're 4 hours from that time. So if we had daylight savings time, it would be included as a -5. But this was not, so it's a -4. Essentially, it's Eastern Standard Time.
And so on May 6, 2023, local time was 4 hours behind UTC time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the time you see on this report is in fact local Greenwood time on that date. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. All right. And then the next column, it says duration. What does that mean?
That is the duration of the call.
Okay. And how long it lasts?
19 seconds, 44 tenths.
Is it, so if that call lasts for 19
I'm sorry, 19 minutes, 44 seconds.
All right. And so, all right. And then the next it says outgoing, correct?
Correct. That's the status of the direction of the call.
And country code is, that would be would that be something if there's an international call?
That's correct.
There could be information there? All right. And then finally, in the far right, it says source info. What does that mean?
So the source is where it was stored. And if you'll notice, line 1 and line 2 are identical. And the reason that is when you run the report, again, I completed 2 extractions, a logical and an advanced logical. And I did that to get the most data. And so within this report, you'll see it's pulled from the call history database in the advanced logical, and that's why you see more information in the second line.
Okay. And so let's discuss that a little more. We see entry 1, and that's the call we've been talking about so far.
That's correct.
And then there's an entry 2 right beneath it, correct?
That's correct.
And we look at the data, at the timestamp and the duration, and the contact, it's identical to entry 1, correct?
That's correct.
And your explanation for that is you did 2 different type of extractions, and it pulled this, what is essentially duplicate information from different databases on that phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's why we see 2 entries for the same call.
That's correct.
And is that a fairly common phenomena as you're analyzing these phones?
Yes, it happens all the time. And essentially, the reason we do it is to pull as much data as possible.
Okay. And so if someone were reviewing this report and they saw identical entries next to each other for the same contact, the same time, same duration, what should they treat those as?
You're saying if there are duplicates?
Yeah.
Then they should see that it's not an anomaly.
Okay. And is it the same call?
It is the same.
And should they treat it as the same call
They
instead of 2 separate?
They should.
And that's if they see the same contact or phone number, the same date and time, and the same duration, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure. Beg court's indulgence.
Sure, take your time.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I'm going to ask you about State's Exhibit 31. You can take a stand real quick. I've got State's Exhibit 35. I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit 35. I'm going to ask if you recognize it.
I do recognize it.
All right, and what is it?
It is the call log for the defendant,
Okay.
Mr. Bud Ackerman.
All right. And actually, and I can hand you back, I forgot one thing, I apologize. Exhibit 31, Meredith's call log and her phone number. Did you determine what phone number was assigned to Meredith's phone at the time of the extraction?
I did.
Would you just read that for the record, for Meredith's phone?
Meredith's phone was 864-934-1601.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Bud's call log. What time duration does that log capture in this particular report?
So in this case, this report for this call log, it is captured for May the 6th, 2023 at 8:50:07 a.m. and it runs to May the 7th, 2023 at 1:55:29 a.m.
Okay. And, are those all the calls that were on Bud's phone?
No.
All right. And if you were to print the entire call log from Bud or Meredith's phone or anyone's phone, how long could that report run to? Have you seen it possibly could run to?
I've seen hundreds of pages.
All right. And so this is just simply a selection of date and time that, in your investigation, you believe is relevant to this particular case.
That's correct.
All right. And I skipped a spot. So let's talk about your extraction of Bud's phone. How did you get it, and what did you do to accomplish the extraction?
So I received Mr. Ackerman's device, and it was in an after first unlock state, and it was charged and taken off the network and kept in that state. It was an Apple iPhone 13 Pro, and it had a software version of 16.3.1. At the time I received it on May the 8th, GrayKey didn't support it at that time. And then on May the 19th, an update was completed to GrayKey, and I was able to complete an after first unlock file system extraction.
Okay. And the report you have in front of you, which is, I apologize, states 35, that was generated from that extraction.
It was.
All right. At this time, state would move to enter State's Exhibit 35 in evidence.
Without objection, 35 into evidence for the state.
And we're going to do one thing here to make a comparison. And you can step down again, Lieutenant Womack, and can you read that from there? We could zoom a little bit if we need to. Let's look at entry 10.
I can read it from here.
All right. And would you read for the jury what that call is? Is it ingoing or outgoing from Bud's phone? And what time it is and how long that call lasts?
So from entry 10, you'll see the phone number incoming from its contact saved as Meredith Ackerman. That was May the 6th, 2023 at 7:38 p.m. and it lasted 2 minutes and 1 second. And this was actually a FaceTime call.
Okay. And so our FaceTime calls, what is FaceTime?
FaceTime is an Apple program essentially where you can see the other party or it uses the iCloud account to contact each device.
It's a video calling.
Essentially, yes, it's a video call.
All right. But the phone stores those calls in the same database or as regular phone calls?
It considers it a call, yes.
Okay. All right. And we see something that says answered. What does that mean?
That shows that this device answered that call.
Okay. And then, and I can pull to the top, but there's something that says yes on the far right. And what is that yes referring to?
Was it a video call or not?
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go back to states 31, which is Meredith's. And again, states 35, this came from Bud's phone, correct?
Correct.
And then states 31, that came from Meredith's phone, correct?
Correct.
And what I'm going to do is bear with me, I apologize. going to direct your attention to items 15 and 16 there. Do you see those?
I do.
All right. And first of all, are 15 and 16 duplicate entries?
They are.
Okay. So would you treat 15 and 16 as the same call?
I would.
All right, and read the information as far as, who is the phone? Is it outgoing or incoming call to Meredith's phone?
Right. So this is an outgoing. The contact is saved as Ice Bud. The time, May the 6th, 2023, 7:30, is that 8? 6? 49 p.m., 2 minutes and 1 second. It was answered, and it was a FaceTime video call.
Okay. All right, and so this is made to a phone of 0292 of the last 4 digits of that phone number, correct?
That's correct.
And did you just read those numbers as Bud's phone that you extracted?
I did.
Okay, you can take a seat. Let's talk about Davis's phone.
Okay.
Tell the jurors how you received it, when you received it, and what you did with it, please.
I received this device from Captain Murdoch. It was in an after first unlock state or a hot state as well, meaning that the encryption passcode had been entered at one point in time and the phone had not restarted. It was an Apple iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it had a software version of 16.4.1. Just for comparison, the 18 just came out. So I attempted to extract this with the gray key as well. It was not supported at the time. It was not until September the 20th to where the gray key updated with the software where I was able to bypass the passcode.
And maybe that's something we should explain a little more before we
Okay.
move on. You said that something similar happened with Bud's phone, is that correct?
That's correct.
And gray key, for lack of a better terms, tries to find exploits in phones to extract data, is that
That's
correct?
correct, to bypass the lock.
And Apple will often in their software updates kind of plug those gaps, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then gray key will have to find a new exploit or a hack. I mean, that's probably not the technical term. You can chime me for it later.
Essentially, that's what it does. Yeah.
To get back into that phone. And is it a kind of an unending series of?
It is. It is a ping pong between Apple and gray key. Apple and gray key.
All right. And so it's not uncommon when you first get a phone that you can't be able to get into it. Is it
That's correct. For example, like I stated, iOS 18 is out now. Gray key does not have a software update at this point to be able to bypass an iOS 18.
But rest assured, are the folks at Gray Key working on it?
I assure you they are.
Okay. Okay. So then what sort of extraction, once you got the Gray Key updated, what sort of extraction did you perform?
So I was able to do an after first unlock file system extraction. Again, it bypasses the passcode. We attempted multiple different avenues to try to retrieve the device passcode, but was very unsuccessful until the software update for Gray Key.
Okay, so you were eventually able to get into it and get information off of Davis's phone, correct?
I was, and it pulled 168.46 gigabytes out of a 256 gigabyte phone.
All right, and I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 34. Let's see if you recognize that.
I do recognize this.
All right, and what is that?
This is Davis's call log from May the 6th, 2023 at 9:36:19 a.m. to May the 7th, 2023 at 2:05:10 a.m.
Okay. And once again, this isn't every phone call that was stored or call log that had been stored on Davis's phone, correct?
That's correct.
And if you printed all that, it could run to hundreds of pages, correct?
It sure could have.
And this is just simply a truncated version of that around the times of this incident, the day of and the day after.
That is correct.
All right. State would move to enter State's 34 in evidence.
No objection.
Without objection, 34 in evidence for the state.
I'm going to publish. All right. You want to step back down. Womack. And I'm going to direct your attention to the second page of this report. And we're going to start looking at entries 13, 14, and then after that.
Okay.
So let's take a look at entry 13. We'll get that adjusted. Just give us a minute. Zoom out.
Yeah, just a tad. Okay, that's good.
All right, so let's look at entry 13. First of all, what is that? From Davis's phone, is that an outgoing call or an incoming call?
That is outgoing to Meredith.
And what time is that?
That is at 12:55:22 a.m. on May the 7th.
Okay, and how long does that call last?
3 minutes, 43 seconds.
Okay. And then the entry below that, it says, entry 14, what is that? Is that an outgoing call or incoming?
That is outgoing to what's listed as Bud Ackerman, May the 7th at 12:59:18 a.m.
All right, and how long does that call last?
Lasted 1 minute and 6 seconds.
All right, and so,
Let me just stop just a second. I think you don't need the microphone according to the court reporter. You talk loud enough anyways. So I think just, yeah, put it down and we'll try this, okay?
all right.
Thank you.
I'm picking up, I'm sorry.
All right, so let's do some rough math, just to help the jurors out. So the call to Meredith started at 12:55 and 22 seconds, correct?
Correct.
And that call would have lasted, it did last 3 minutes and 43 seconds, correct?
That's correct.
And therefore, if you do a little rough math in your head, about what time did that call end?
12:58, somewhere around there.
Okay.
12:59, somewhere
Okay,
around there.
so, not very long, just a few seconds afterwards, Davis is making a call to Bud Ackerman, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then that call lasts for a minute,
It does, minute and 6 seconds.
so that call would have ended, roughly speaking, almost a little after 1 a.m. exactly,
That's correct.
on May 7th of 2023, correct?
That's correct.
And then, let's look at entry 15. First of all, what incoming or outgoing call,
That is incoming.
all right? And we don't see a contact, but we see a phone number, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and what is that phone number?
That phone number is 864-934-1601.
All right, and looking at the previous contacts, would you be able to identify whose phone that is?
That is Meredith's phone.
All right, but we don't see the name Meredith there,
That's right.
correct?
That's
Why
correct.
is that?
So essentially what happened, and this is the type of information that'll catch your attention when you're reviewing this, and then you want to know why, obviously. For the type of vehicle that he had, or any other third party, it connected to Bluetooth. And you know, sometimes in
Maybe
vehicles.
can you speak up a little bit, Lieutenant, just so.
Okay.
Back to the mic.
Yeah, we may need to go back to the mic.
I'm sorry. Did you hear all of it, or just?
No, I got it, yeah.
Okay, so essentially, if you ever been in your newer vehicle or a rental vehicle that's your device has never seen, and it may ask you, do you want to download your contacts? And if you don't download your contacts, it's going to come in as the number itself, not as a contact, and so that's what this anomaly is.
So would an explanation of why you don't see Meredith's name next to her number be that Davis's phone is connected via Bluetooth to his car?
That's correct.
All right. And so that call begins at what time again?
That was it, 1:08:13 a.m.
All right, and how long does that call last?
5 minutes and 27 seconds.
All right, let's go to the next line.
Okay.
And that's line 16. What, first of all, is that outgoing or incoming call?
That is incoming.
All right, and I don't see a contact, but I see a number. What call is that, what number is that call from?
864-554-0292.
All right, and once again, we don't see a name, but looking at the contacts above that, which number would you, who would you associate that number with?
Bud Ackerman.
All right, and would it be for the same reason you just discussed, the reason we don't see Bud's name next to his number in this entry?
That's correct.
All right, because the phone could potentially be connected to the Bluetooth of that BMW.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Now, going back to doing a little rough math in your head, and I apologize for making you do this.
That's fine.
The call, the entry 15, the call before that from Meredith, correct?
Correct.
Lasted for 5 minutes and 27 seconds, starting at 1:08:13 a.m.
That's correct.
All right, so doing some rough math, about when would that call, Meredith's call, have ended?
Have ended 1:12 or so, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
Around 1:12
That's correct.
a.m., but we see that call coming from Bud at 1:09 a.m.
That's correct.
And was that call answered as well?
It was answered.
All right, so, but the call from Meredith, according to what you testified, hadn't ended, correct?
Right.
Can you explain that to the jurors, how that could have happened?
He would have placed Meredith on hold to answer Bud's call.
Okay, all right. And Bud's call lasts for how long?
3 minutes and 28 seconds.
All right, and so when would that call have ended?
In 1:12, almost 1:13.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have you take a seat. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 33. See if you recognize that.
I do.
What is that?
This is a report from a tag that was conducted. A tag essentially is, hey, I want to save and review that later by the investigator or whomever reviewing the report. It's 3 specifically on there from May the 7th, 2023 at 12:55:20 a.m. to May the 7th, 2023, 1:11:35 a.m.
All right. And first of all, whose phone is that from?
This is from Davis's phone.
Davis's phone. Okay. And that would have came from the same extraction as the call log you just talked about.
That is correct.
All right. I'm sorry. My apologies. Okay. And so I think you said something about biomes, and you testified a little bit ago about biomes.
That's correct.
These are specific data entries from those biomes.
That's correct. This
So-
specifically.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So this is information that's stored in those other databases on the phone that wouldn't normally be user accessible, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and specifically, what are those data points that are in that report, excuse me?
So these 3 events between that time frame that I mentioned a second ago are their device status plugins. It shows when the phone is plugged in to charge and removed from charge.
Okay, and you said plugged in. Does this phone necessarily have to be plugged in to charge?
It does not. This is an Apple iPhone 14 Pro Max. It has charging capabilities essentially from the back of the device.
And it can wirelessly charge, correct?
It can, yes.
And would, if it's charging wirelessly, would the phone record it still being plugged in as charging?
Absolutely.
Even though it's not physically on a cable?
That's right. You don't have to use a lightning cable. You could put it on the charger and it will record as if it's charging.
And what were the times of those entries again? My apologies.
The first one was May the 7th at 12:55:20 a.m. The second is May the 7th at 1:11:34 a.m. And the third is May the 7th at 1:11:35 a.m.
Okay. And at this time, State would move to enter Exhibit 33 into evidence.
No objection.
Without objection, number 30 into evidence for the state.
I'm going to publish this.
I'm gonna step down,
You can
Judge.
step back down. Get you your exercise this morning. And can you read that from there?
Yes.
Okay. And so what that shows is similar setup to the call logs, correct?
That's correct.
We have columns and we have information stored in the separate columns, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And so starting with the left-hand side, we see an entry that says 1, correct?
That's correct.
And it says event
That's correct.
to the right of that, correct?
Yes.
And that's, what does that say?
Device events, or the plugged in, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it says
Yep.
plugged in, and what does that mean to you? What is your expert opinion of what that means?
The device began charging
Okay. And that could have been either physically a cable plugged in, or how else?
wirelessly,
Okay.
or through the back of, essentially the back of the device.
What time did that event occur on this device?
So again, it was, go up to the first table, not the second one, I'm sorry.
This one, I'm sorry.
Yep,
Is this a better, is this contain the same information
Yes,
as that?
that's the same information, that's just reviewing the tags that were saved by the reviewing party.
So we don't confuse anyone, there's two tables on the page 2 of this report, and they both contain identical information, just in
Right.
different format. Is that
And when you
correct?
see created over there, that's just where the investigator, it was created, the tag.
So, let's start that over. Let's look at
Okay.
event 1, under device events, and
Right.
what time does that occur?
So line 1, May the 7th, 2023, 12:55:20 a.m. The device status was plugged in.
Okay,
It was captured, you want to keep going?
Keep going.
So it was captured in the biomes, and it says deleted, yes. So on any mobile device, when it's deleted, it's marked for deletion. That doesn't mean that it actually deletes it. Again, if the device, depending on how often it's used, again, it says, okay, this is not important, I can delete it when I'm ready to. And once it gets to the end of the conveyor belt, then it drops off. Once, again, you got new activities coming into the phone. So again, it's marked for deletion, it's not deleted.
okay, all right. And let's talk about the second entry we see there.
So May the 7th, 2023, 1:11:34 a.m., device status unplugged. Again, this is in the bound file, and it was marked for deletion.
What does unplugged mean?
Unplugged means it was either unplugged from a cable or removed from the wireless charger.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to pull up, you can take, go ahead and grab a seat again. We're going to pull up what's been entered into evidence, and that is exhibit, was it? Bear with us one second, we'll find it. This is Investigator Durkin's pictures from yesterday, the crime scene pictures. Somebody help me figure out which one that is. Okay, State's Exhibit 18. And this is in evidence. Let's go to picture, I believe it was 706, and we'll verify that. Let's go ahead and put it up. Is that in fact 706?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is picture 716 on State's Exhibit 18. And first of all, did you respond to the crime scene the night of?
I did not.
Okay. But can you just describe for the jury what's sitting in that seat that's readily identifiable by you?
You see the iPhone.
Okay. Okay. All right. And you can see on the right, and this is a picture, what number?
708.
This is picture 708 on State's Exhibit 18. And we see in the middle of the picture a column, or the center column of the BMW, correct?
Correct.
And we see above that, looks like some sort of stand. Can you identify that from your training experience?
From my training experience, it appears to be a cell phone holding stand that has charging capabilities.
Okay. And directly to the right of where that stand is, what do you see?
Airbag.
Okay. And again, in your opinion, would it be possible that if that phone were sitting in that charger charging, when that airbag went off and the airbag made contact with the charger and knocked it off of that charger, what would the device potentially record that event as?
It was recorded as unplugged.
All right. And, And do you recall, and I can get the report back on, when you see that that device event showing it unplugged?
111:34.
All right, good memory. Okay. All right. Turn that off. Go back to the for a second. Okay, and you previously testified about this, but these phones store all sorts of information, do they not?
That's correct.
Including text.
That's correct.
I am going to show you further. This is State's Exhibit 29. I'll show you this. Do you recognize that, sir?
I do.
What is that?
This is some text message content between.
First of all, did that come from an extraction you
I'm sorry.
performed?
Yes, it did. From Mr. Ackerman's device.
The defendant's phone,
That's
correct?
correct.
All right. And you found that information in the text that you pulled off Mr. Ackerman's phone?
That's correct.
All right. At this time, State would move to enter Exhibit 29 in evidence.
Subject to what's already been placed on the record, 29 into evidence for the state.
And we're going to publish this. And first of all, before we talk about any content, let's just discuss the format of what we're seeing here so the jury understands. So you can step back down. And do we need to zoom a little bit there? Or can you read that?
I think I can read.
Okay. I can't. Okay. All right. Can you still read that?
I can.
All right, let's just talk about format first of all so the jury understands what they're saying. We see a green box in front of us, correct?
That's correct.
And we see it says from and a phone number.
That's
and then
correct.
what else does it say there?
It says William Ackerman, the owner.
Okay, and so this is a text sent from the defendant's phone, correct?
That's correct.
And it's sent to who?
An 864-554-1589. The contact is saved as a Danny B.
Okay, all right, and then there's the content of the text below that, and we'll get to that in a second, but below that, we see in the bottom right corner a date and time. What does that say?
It says April the 29th, 2023, 9:59:29 a.m.
All right, and so this text would have been sent from Bud's phone a little more than a week before the incident that occurred at Avenue and Sawgrass, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, can you read that text?
What the hell is Davis thinking, man? I mean, what the hell, Danny?
Okay. Let's go down to the next entry, and this one's blue. And generally speaking, on these texts, does green and blue signify anything on these reports?
Yes, whenever, it just depends if it's an iMessage or not.
Okay. And iMessage is what? Let's make sure we
So
understand that.
you have SMS, which was originally sent in a green. If you're sending like the first time to an individual, or if you haven't sent one in a while, it doesn't recognize whether they have an iPhone or not. And you can have your phone set up on an Apple device to receive iMessages. And the blue would indicate the iMessage. Essentially, if you've ever texted anyone that has an Android device from your Apple, you'll see it's green. But if you text another iPhone and they have iMessages set up, it's blue.
Okay. All right. And so this text was from who?
That is from the 554-1589 Danny B number
And it was to who?
to 864-554-0292. And then it has a number of, some numbers and symbols.
Well, first of all, why do we see those numbers and symbols there?
That could be how either Danny has him entered, or it could have been showing him as the owner, but he doesn't have it plugged into iMessage.
Okay. But is that an incoming text to Bud Ackerman's phone from Danny B?
It is.
Okay. And then date and time we see in the bottom right corner, correct?
Correct. May the 29th, 2023, 10:10:18 a.m.
All right. And then it says what?
I have no clue what you're talking about. What did he do?
We'll go to page 2 of this report. All right, and can you read that text?
Lieutenant Womack, I think you said May 29th.
It should have been April 29th. I'm sorry. My
That's all right.
apologies.
Just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay. So this is another text on page 2 at the top. It's from who?
It's from Mr. Ackerman,
Okay, to who?
Danny B.
All right, and what does that text say?
He has been expletive Meredith.
All right.
I'll
and
say expletive rather than using the word.
For the record, it doesn't say actually expletive, it says
It is not. That's me cleaning it up.
Okay.
Go ahead and just spell it if you don't want to actually say it, Lieutenant Womack.
Fucking.
Okay?
Okay. And what date and time did that occur?
That is April 29th, 2023, 10:48 a.m.
Okay, and we'll read the next one from Danny B. Back to Bud. What does that say?
That's news to me. I don't keep up with anyone's business.
All right, and then what date and time did that text?
April 29th, 2023, 10:58 a.m.
Okay, let's move on to the next text. Who is that from?
That is from Mr. Ackerman to Danny B.
All right, and what does that text say?
I had my suspicions, but it was confirmed by her. I can't believe he would do that to me. I mean, damn, I know him my whole life.
All right, and what date and time did that occur?
April the 29th, 2023, 10:28 a.m.
Okay. All right, and what, the next text entry, what does that say?
It's from
Or who's it from and who's it to?
From Danny B to the owner, Mr. Ackerman. I don't know what to tell you, bud. April 29th, 2023, 10:13 a.m.
Okay. And then one last text. All right, and what is it, who is this from and who is it to?
This is from Mr. Ackerman to Danny B. Damn, I don't know either. It's just expletive, Fucked, up, April 29th, 10:43:05 a.m.
And all these phones contain a lot of text, did they not?
That's correct.
And did you review a lot of text?
I did.
All right, and you marked this as significant, correct? To your investigation?
Yes,
And that's why this report was saved, correct?
that's correct.
Take some. That was. Oops. Yes, 29. And I'm going to show you this. This is going to be marked for ID only. Just see if you recognize this. This is States 32, ID only. And do you recognize that?
I do.
All right. And what is that? Without reading any content, just tell us what it is.
It's a report from, or between two individuals for text message.
All right. And not reading any text messages. Who is it? Who are they? Who is the conversation between?
The defendant and Meredith.
Okay. And do you recall whose phone that information was pulled from?
Believe it was from Meredith.
All right.
Yes, it was from Meredith.
And we'll leave that at that. One moment. Had the court's indulgence.
Sure, take time.